Well, for the first time in about 1.5 weeks, I have returned like a trusty boomerang. Woo! I have returned. Hello? If I was a crazy person, that's kind of what I would do to a TV if I witnessed that Sunday Night Football game that happened between the Commanders and Falcons, and I saw that we might just miss the playoffs, despite everything. And also, my condolences, my thoughts and prayers also are with the victims and families of the victims of the attacks that happened on Bourbon Street, man. It's just so unfortunate that stuff like that happens. Some moronic and insane human being just decides to use a pickup truck to just plow through crowds at Bourbon Street. Like, what? Did he complain about the human traffic or something? As much as I don't like the New Orleans Saints, I do appreciate the state of Louisiana and the city of New Orleans for staying strong, even through the worst things. First a couple of hurricanes, and now this shit. Like, New Orleans has been through it all, but you know what? They keep on fighting, and I have nothing but respect for that. Stay strong and stay safe out there if you are someone who lives in New Orleans. We're all thinking about every single one of the families of the victims. Welcome back to Grizzly Talks Football. Yeah, we're on episode 49. Tomorrow is episode 50. I did say on a community post, if you read it, I was going to do a video on Wednesday, but then I realized the Sugar Bowl got postponed 20 hours from its original starting date. In fact, at the time of recording this video, the Sugar Bowl is going on right now. But because of that, that game got moved to today, which is Thursday. And that got me thinking, why not just do the first video I was going to do for this week, being the NFL scores, reactions, or something like that. It was NFL reactions to the Week 17. On Thursday and Friday, I talked briefly about the college football playoff, maybe just the Sugar Bowl that day. I will still talk about the other 3 playoff games where we saw every single team with a bye lose, including a then undefeated Oregon Ducks team that got completely obliterated by the Buckeyes. Like, who saw that coming? Anyways, I'm going to be doing the Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl, and Rose Bowl reactions along with Week 17 reactions today for the NFL. Again, if you are new to the series, I will leave a link in the description with every single episode there, so you guys can go check every single episode so you're all caught up, and you also have it for future episodes whenever I post them. Also, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Make sure you smash that like button. Without further ado, let's get into the games. We got a lot to talk about. As you can see, this is the playoff bracket, the first 12-team playoff bracket, heading into today, where we'll see the Sugar Bowl being played out. It's being played right now, but we're going to talk about the other 3 bowl games that happened that gets Texas, Ohio State, and Penn State to the semifinals. First off, the game between Penn State and Boise State, for the people in Eastern Time and, U.S., really. It was on a Tuesday, which was the 31st of December, New Year's Eve. And let me just say, despite Genty's pretty solid game, Penn State put belt to ass on this game. Seriously. Like, there was nothing Boise State's defense could do. And the quarterback, Madsen, he had a very rough game. Just unfortunately, the Boise State is just way too one-dimensional right now. Like, their rushing attack is completely unmatched. They have the best running back in the country. It's safe to say that running the ball is really their only good strong suit on offense. Passing the ball against the Penn State defense like that, not so much. And also the fact that Boise State's defense couldn't really do anything against Penn State's high-powered, balanced offense. Yeah, that was just the main difference in that game. Just unfortunate that Boise State, the only Group of 5 team to beat in the playoff this year, well, because they had the third best conference champion. Well, since there's no other Group of 5 teams as well, they unfortunately took a loss in this game. Next up was the Peach Bowl between Texas and Arizona State. This was the best game by far so far. I mean, Texas was up by like 2 or 3 possessions. At one point, Arizona State And Cam Scatterbo found a way to come back and force overtime, and Texas ends up winning in double overtime, thanks to a game-ending interception. Let me just say, Cam Scatterbo had an absolute masterclass in his game, but his team let him down, especially on that fourth down that would have pretty much put Arizona State in the Cotton Bowl instead of Texas. Let me just say, Cam Scatterbo, Ashton Genty, you two are going to have great careers in the NFL. I just know it. But that's not safe to say that Quinn Ewers has that clutch factor that was shown in that game from yesterday. I actually listened to that game too on the radio when I was coming home from my Europe trip. And man, I gotta say, I kind of wanted Arizona State to win that game. But they didn't. And the final game was the Rose Bowl that happened yesterday between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the 1-seed Oregon Ducks when there was another belt-to-ass whooping. Except it was by the Buckeyes. Yeah, not the other way around at all. I think a lot of people were expecting Oregon to win this game, but my God, Ohio State is actually for real. Unfortunately, Buckeyes fans, in terms of, the whole Michigan situation, this might have just saved Ryan Day's job. Let me just say, I think that Ryan was on the hot seat heading into this game. It's like if he lost, he might have been gone or been re-signed. Who knows? But this is definitely the game that said, you know what, we got to re-sign Day. I mean, this was the most complete game that Ohio State has played in recently. Well, Tennessee was up there too, but against a team like Oregon, you would not expect the Buckeyes to do as much as they did the last time, except instead of losing because, Howard forgot the time, they lose because of a bad turnover or a turnover on downs. But my God, a lot of us were all wrong. Oh yeah, and this was the very first game of this playoff bracket that I got incorrect. I still think Texas is going to whoop your ass, Ohio State. And as far as Georgia Notre Dame, yeah, picks are going to stay the same. I think it's still going to be Georgia versus Texas in the national championship. But wouldn't it be cool if Penn State made the national championship despite losing to Ohio State and Oregon? That would be crazy. Let me just say, if someone told me that Penn State is going to beat Georgia, I would say, that's crazy talk. Anyways, enough about college football. Let's get to the Week 17 NFL reactions. Kicking this off, we got the Christmas Day games. First up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs button belt to ass on the Steelers 29-10 to clinch the top seed of the AFC. The three-peat is fucking inevitable, isn't it? I am pissed. Dear God, help us all. The rushing deck wasn't as important. The most rushing yards a player had was 20 in this game for the Chiefs. The most important thing about this offense was the 3 touchdowns, 320 yards, almost 30 completion game for Patrick Mahomes. He's definitely not going to be the MVP, but this was a much-needed performance. The 3 touchdowns went to Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, and Justin Watson, a name I haven't said in a long time. If this stat line for Kelce won you a fantasy football championship, I'm praying for you. Because, some people might be headhunting, if you know what I mean. 5 sacks in this game, including 2 from Mike Dana. I have no idea who that is, but there was also an interception by Justin Reed. I believe I watched this game before I made the flight to Frankfurt, Germany. Not Frankfurt, Kentucky, for those of you who are getting confused. But I must say, this was probably the best complete game that Kansas City ever played this season. Russell Wilson had a decent performance. He had a rushing touchdown, but he also threw a pick. Yardage-wise, rushing game was actually pretty solid. They just didn't go to it as much. And a new name appears at the top of the receiving core, Pat Freiermuth, with 7 catches for 60 yards. No sacks or turnovers for Pittsburgh's defense, which is quite a shocker in my opinion, but hey, Kansas City played their most complete game of the season. There are not very many teams that could beat the Chiefs. There's only a very select few amount of teams that are able to be on the Chiefs level, but it's going to be very difficult. You got to play perfect to beat these guys. Steelers were not even close. And now, thanks to this loss, and a game you're going to be seeing later that was happened on the same day, a battle for the AFC North is about to take place, where things are going to get messy and interesting. Speaking of which, this was the other Christmas Day game where the Ravens also put belt to ass. Man, Christmas Day was full of belt to ass in the NFL. Ravens beat the Texans by a score of 31-2. The only points the Houston Texans scored was on defense. This just shows that Houston has definitely regressed from last season when they won a playoff game and they were actually competitive against the then 1 seed Ravens. This is definitely a different kind of Baltimore Ravens. Instead of having, a 24 touchdown Lamar Jackson on the passing game winning MVP, you got Lamar Jackson who really could have went back-to-back. Especially with his 2 touchdown performance, actually 3 total touchdown performance with 250 total yards. Don't forget Derrick Henry had 150 yards in the score, one of the best running backs in the league. Andrews hauled in 2 catches for 68 yards with a touchdown. It was both of the tight ends that got touchdowns this game, Mark Andrews being one of them and Isaiah Likely getting the other one. Also 5 sacks and an interception by Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the NFL. I mean, come on. He has been great. Let me just say, Houston Texans offense was just a big mess. I mean, come on. C.J. Stroud threw a pick. Rushing game was just shut down. I mean, come on. Ravens have one of the best rush defenses in the NFL. What did you expect? But man, Joe Mixon, 2.9 yards per carry. Yeah, the Ravens defense was elite in this game. The missing of Tank Dell definitely hurt this receiving core. Nico Collins-Dickey had 59 receiving yards. Mechie had 48, but nobody eclipsed 100 yards at all. Ravens' pass defense definitely improved. There was a safety on this game. I don't actually know who got the safety, but shout out to them. They tackled Derrick Henry for a 4-yard loss, which turned into a safety, and that ended up being the only points of the game for Houston. We don't need to worry about Houston and their playoff stand. They're pretty much going to lose a playoff game. But here's the catch for the AFC North. If the Ravens win against the Browns next week, which is going to be on a Sunday. No. It's going to be on Saturday. Anyways, if the Ravens beat the Browns, Ravens are in. But if Ravens lose and Pittsburgh wins, Pittsburgh gets the AFC North. If both teams lose, it's the Ravens. So, Week 18 for the AFC North is going to be absolute cinema. Up next, we got the Thursday Night Football game between the Seahawks and Bears, with the Seahawks winning by a score of 6-3. Am I watching an NFL game or why watching an MLS game? Because this game was ass. I'm not talking about this much more. The only people that showed up were the defenses and the kickers. Next. Now we got the Saturday games. We got the Chargers putting belt ass on the Patriots. I mean, come on. What did you expect? 40-7 the final, which means the Chargers are in the playoffs as the 6th seed, I'm very sure. Well, unless Pittsburgh somehow loses to the Bengals and the Chargers win their next game, because then the Chargers would actually get the 5th seed. This was just a great game for the Chargers offense. I mean, they have struggled quite recently, but this game in particular, I know it was against the Patriots, but this was a much-needed wake-up call for that offense. We got J.K. Dobbins coming back from injury, getting 4 yards to carry, 76 rushing yards to the score. Justin Herbert almost throwing for 300 yards with 3 touchdowns. Ladd McConkey returning to his peak form, 8 catches, almost 100 yards and 2 scores. Darius Zafis getting another touchdown. That's insane. Touchdown in back-to-back weeks? Damn. 4 sacks for the Chargers defense, including 2 from Derwin James. I was not expecting that. As far as the Patriots offense goes, there's only so much you can do. Seriously, there's really only so much you can do against one of the best scoring defenses in the league. The only really good highlight was a pass from Drake May to Demario Douglas for a touchdown. That was basically the only positive thing about this game for New England. Because otherwise, yeah. A game happened and the Patriots got absolutely smacked. At least the Patriots know what's really at stake here. The title of Tank Bowl Champion. Shout out to Urinating Tree for that. Well, I kind of take inspiration for that. Up next, we had an overtime thriller on Saturday football, the best game of the day. Bengals beating the Broncos in Cincinnati 30-24. This game was crazy stuff. I mean, come on. Like, Marvin Mims caught a big touchdown near the end of regulation. And then T. Higgins, I'm going to talk about him in just a minute. But let me just say, Bo Nix had himself a hell of a game. I mean, I know he only threw for 200 yards, but he did have 3 touchdowns despite a pick. Julian McLaughlin didn't get the ball very much. I mean, he did the most with it. He had 7 yards to carry on his 10 carries for 69 yards. Nice. Marvin Mims, 8 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the one that I just said that came at around the end of regulation. Cortland Sutton got the other touchdown. The offense was a big reason why that game went to overtime. I mean, the Bengals defense, you kind of expect them to really just fall over on their backs. And I counted 7 sacks in this game, including 3.5 sacks from Zach Allen. Holy shit. This is like Aiden Hutchinson getting 5 sacks in one game for Detroit and they still lost to Tampa Bay. It's kind of giving me those vibes right now. That's not to say the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 4 touchdowns total. He had 400 passing yards. My God. Jamar Chase had 100 yards, but this was the T. Higgins show for sure. 11 catches, 131 yards, and 3 touchdowns. All 3 of them went to Higgins, including the game-winning touchdown in overtime. I know Jermaine Pratt got an interception, but including those 2 sacks only for the Bengals, you pretty much expect the Bengals defense to really be absolute garbage. I don't know if the Bengals got the ball first or not. Based on the coin toss, I think they probably did, and that was just the best case scenario for the Bengals. So now, the Broncos have to win this game against the Chiefs backups, because, come on. Are the Chiefs really going to play their starters to prevent the Broncos from making the playoffs? I don't think so. Anyways, in order for the Broncos to clinch a playoff berth, all they gotta do is win. But if they lose, they have to hope the Bengals and Dolphins lose in order to make the playoffs. But then again, you don't want to play the Buffalo Bills if you're not a cold weather team. Miami is already in the gist of that, yeah, we don't want to play the Bills. Yeah, Dolphins, you don't want to get your ass kicked by the Bills a 3rd time. That would be embarrassing. Just ask the 1998 Jaguars when they get lost 3 times to the Titans, including the AFC Championship. Yeah, I remember that. I'm pretty much a football guru at this point. In the final Saturday game, we had the Cardinals losing to the Rams 13-9, and with this win, the Rams are clinching the NFC West, thanks to another game I will talk about later. Congrats to the Rams on making the playoffs. Hopefully, you're going to be the 3 seed, but hey, at least you're going to get a home playoff game in the wild card. Yeah, despite throwing for 300 yards, Kyler Murray definitely struggled. He had a touchdown and 2 picks. Michael Carter was the leading rusher. Maybe James Conner got injured, I don't know. Marvin Harrison returned to this top 5 draft pick form with almost 100 yards, but this was definitely the Trey McBride show on offense. Come on, 12 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown. He was their most reliable receiver all season. And he's a tight end. I'm not saying that tight ends are terrible. There are some great tight ends in this NFL. I'm just saying you would expect the leading receiver to be a receiver, like a wideout, not a tight end. Yardage-wise, they were actually decent, but as far as sacks and turnovers, they had a big fat donut. It was not an impressive game from the Rams whatsoever, but they did enough to win. Kyren Williams got another touchdown. Maybe Cooper Kupp might have gotten injured, or rather he only caught 1 pass. Because Puka Nacua, man, he had more yards than his entire receiving core combined. 10 catches, 129 yards. Yeah, Puka Nacua is going to be a freaking perennial Pro Bowler pretty much every season. Unless there's some elite talent in the receiving core in the NFC. 4 sacks for the Rams defense, including 2 from Brandon Fisk, and 2 interceptions by Ahkello Witherspoon. Man, I haven't seen him in a while. He plays for the Rams now? And there's also 1 for the legend himself, who read Geno Smith like a book in that one game, Cam Kitchens. This team is a team you probably don't want to face come January. Well, actually, it is January now. Kicking off the Sunday games, oh dear, we had another belt to ass game. Philadelphia clinches the NFC East with an absolute dominant performance against the Dallas Cowboys, 41-7. Yeah, they're the Dallas Cowgirls for sure, Scooter McGruder. But my God, I think everybody must have seen this coming. This is twice now that Philadelphia has put belt ass on Dallas. The last one at Dallas, oh boy, that was bad. This arguably might have been worse. Guess how many times Trey Lance was involved in a play? Twice. Well, rather, he gets stats. Twice. He had 1 carry and 1 pass. Cooper Rush, on the other hand, complete cheeks. At least Rico Dowdle looks good. Yeah, receiving core without CeeDee Lamb, oh boy, is not looking good. At least Jalen Tolbert got a score, though. Defensively, it's pretty much self-explanatory. This defense has completely fallen apart. And Micah Parsons might be on his way out. Congratulations, Jerry. You went all in, and you are going to be picking in a mid-round pick. Round of applause. But man, this was a great game for Philadelphia. I mean, Kenny Pickett scored 2 touchdowns, 1 passing, 1 rushing. But the main talk of this was Tanner McKee, former missionary and Stanford QB, that went to Philadelphia and threw 2 touchdowns on his 4 pass attempts. And the other talk was Saquon Barkley breaking the 2,000-yard rushing yard barrier. And he's going to be sitting out next week? Dude, let him break the record, man! And let me say, the Philadelphia receiving core is going to be very tough to stop. I mean, Devontae Smith had an absolute unbelievable game. This was his best game of the year by far. 6 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns, with A.J. Brown getting the other one. Sacks aren't really important now, but the thing that is important about this Eagles defense is the 2 interceptions for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Wow. After all the shit he's gotten, he proved everybody wrong and proved that he still has it. I needed to get a kicker out of the way, but Jake Elliott, congratulations on your double-digit points. Ready to say again? 3, 2, 1. How about those Cowgirls? Ha ha! Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm feeling so much better now. Yeah, I kind of had a cold, but I feel a lot better now. Unfortunately, the Bucks just won't go away. Yep, they put belts ass on the Panthers, 48-14. I said there was an upset bidding? Yeah, right. Sure. I guess the Buccaneers team that got pissed because they lost to the Cowgirls? Yeah, you know Buccaneers were absolutely furious, and they wanted to take their frustrations out on somebody, and it had to be Carolina. Let me just say, Bryce Young has a bright future in this league. He needs a lot of help. Chuba Hubbard's on IR, he's done for the year. Yeah, because of that, the rushing game went down south. No pun intended, of course. At least Adam Thielen had a great game. I mean, 5 catches, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's very, very solid. It's just the fact that if your number 1 target is like a 34-year-old Adam Thielen, you got a lot of work to do. The only thing positive about the Carolina Panthers is that they got 2 sacks, I guess. That's pretty much it for the defense. I hate talking smack about Carolina, but this is the worst defense of the NFL. Hands down. And yes, even worse than Cincy. Bucky Irvin, another 100-yard game, but Baker Mayfield put on a show. 360 yards and 5 passing touchdowns. 2 of them going to Mike Evans, 2 of them going to Jalen McMillan, and the other going to Payne Durham. I think this is his first touchdown of the year. Oh yeah, Mike Evans also had 100 receiving yards, and unfortunately, he's probably going to be falling short of his 1,000-yard streak. So sad. He's a great receiver, though. 5 sacks for Tampa Bay's defense. Doesn't really force very many turnovers, but the offense did its job. Defense didn't really have to lift a finger. And congratulations, Chase McLaughlin, on 2 field goals and having double-digit points as well. Bucks are back in first place because of a game I will tell you about later, but Buccaneers, all they got to do is beat the Saints, and they are in the playoffs as the NFC South champion, which will probably get beat by a 14-win team, whether it's the Lions or Vikings. Stay tuned for that. This was the game that got broadcast, I believe, I can't remember. It was in Berlin, wasn't it? Anyways, actually, Yes. No, it was in Prague. I now remember. This was the game that Prague was broadcasting, and my god, it sucked. Literally because New York Jets scored 2 touchdowns in garbage time. Because the Bills also put belt to ass on the Jets, 40-14. Yeah, I've said this for weeks. Jets are in football hell right now. You really thought Zach Wilson was the fucking problem with his team? It's everything, including Zach Wilson. If you thought Tyrod Taylor was going to be the best quarterback of this game against the Bills, I would have called you crazy, but yeah. He had 2 touchdown passes, and Aaron Rodgers had 2 picks. And they both had under 200 yards combined in passing. Don't even talk about the rushing game. It was just mid. And the 2 touchdowns thrown by Taylor were to Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin. Devontae Adams only caught 5 passes. And defense probably played its worst game of the season. No sacks, no turnovers, no nothing. Oh yeah, Mitchell Trubisky got his little shine on this 69-yard touchdown. Nice. And also Josh Allen getting 3 total touchdowns, but seriously. You think this guy should be the MVP over Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow? Really? Before I forget, James Cook also had a touchdown. Let's get that out of the way. Before somebody comes in and says, you forgot about the James Cook touchdown. There you go. The 69-yard pass from Mr. Trubisky went to Tyrell Schaefers. That's interesting. And Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman holding touchdowns from Josh Allen. 4 sacks for the Bills defense, and they were able to get interceptions from Jordan Phillips and Christian Benford on Aaron Rodgers. Just a complete game for Buffalo. I know the Jets scored 2 touchdowns with Tyrod Taylor, but come on, that was garbage time. The backups were in. Like, really? Congratulations, Buffalo. Enjoy your 2 seed and free path to the divisional round. Up next, we got the Colts losing to the Giants 45-33 in a very impressive game. And Giants, what the fuck are you doing? Did you forget that you have a tank bowl to win and now you have potentially blown it for both your fans and your franchise? Sell the team, O'Hara. Sell the team, dude. And guess who's back? Joe Flacco. He had a pretty so-so game. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Jonathan Taylor also had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. 200-yard receiver for the Colts, Alec Pierce with 6 catches, 122 yards and a score, and Michael Pittman out of nowhere with 9 catches, 100 yards and a score. Where did this come from, Michael? 0 sacks, 0 interceptions for this Colts defense. Unfortunately, they just witnessed the rebirth of Drew Lock. He's getting his career on the right foot as well. Speaking of devil, Drew Lock, 5 total touchdowns. Jesus, with 300 passing yards? Oh boy, you better watch out, New York. If Drew Lock is the starting quarterback, this whole league's in trouble if he turns into what he just pulled off this game. Malik Neighbors, his best game of the year, 7 catches, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, with the other touchdowns going to Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. So 3 pretty much usual receivers to score touchdowns. 2 sacks by Thibodeau and Nunez Rushes, and I think I completely butchered that. And then 2 interceptions by Andrew Phillips and Dane Belton. Crazy good game for the defense. I bet Giants fans will come to this game and say, Could you have done that all season? You were better off. Well, yeah, I guess you could say you're better off without Daniel Jones and that massive contract. At least you're able to cut ties, but it does come with a price. You're going to have to pay him a lot of money, which means your salary cap might be fucked. And so is your draft position. Up next, the Raiders beat the Saints 25-10. Raiders also choked away the number 1 draft pick. AOC returns from injury and has a very solid game. 250 yards, 2 touchdown passes with 100-yard rushing for Amir Abdullah. That's surprising. I also heard that Brock Bowers broke Puka Nakua's receiving yards record for rookies as a tight end. Oh boy. What's going to happen to Michael Mayer? I don't know. Anyways, Bowers got 7 catches, 77 yards in this game, and the touchdowns went to Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers. 4 sacks for this defense, including 1 from Spillane and Caleb Von Chasen, and 2 interceptions by Thomas Harper and Mr. Pick 6 Jack Jones, except Jones did not even get a pick 6 in this game. And also I'm going to shout out Daniel Carlson for hitting 4 field goals with 13 total points for himself. But my gosh, Spencer Rattler and the Saints are absolutely in shambles. They have everyone injured. I mean, Carr's out, Kamara's out, Olave is out. Yeah, this Saints team is screwed. Yeah, the only highlight of the game was Spencer Rattler's touchdown pass to Faustin Morrow. That was basically everything good that came out of this game for New Orleans. Defense, once again, was complete shit. I mean, there are going to be some players that are going to retire, including Cam Jordan and Demario Davis. Good tank bowl, guys. Raiders, congratulations on your big choke job. But, hey, at least you're not the Giants, who had a worse choke job than the Falcons' Super Bowl choke. And it's not even close. Actually, no. Nothing is going to top Houston Texans' draft choke job. That actually was a blessing in disguise. And yet we got another tank bowl. And the Jacksonville Jaguars actually beat the Titans again, 20-13. Uh-oh. Yeah, Doug Peterson might get fired. Only good offensive player on the rushing game is really just Ty J. Spears. He had himself a game with 100 rushing yards. At least Calvin Ridley looks good, and the only touchdown went to Nick Vannett. 2 sacks for the Titans defense, but that was pretty much it. Nothing else. Matt Jones had an okay game. He's still trash. When you got guys like Brian Thomas, you're going to do some great things. That's what Trevor Lawrence has coming into next season. 7 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Oh yeah, Parker Washington also got a receiving touchdown in this game. Only interception in this game went to Devin Lloyd. I don't think I've said his name in a while. And there was also 3 sacks for the Jags defense. Pretty solid numbers. If this team doesn't fall flat on its face, they should be perhaps a wild card contender. Maybe an AFC South Division title contender. I don't know, but my gosh, this AFC South Division and NFC South Divisions are both huge bundles of messes. Those were the Sunday 1 o'clock games, from the Cowboys-Eagles to the Titans-Jags, and now we got the 2 4 to 4:25 games. First up, the Dolphins keeping their playoff hopes alive against the Browns, 20-3. Is this Tyler Huntley's first win as a Dolphin? I don't know. Despite Tua's injury, the Dolphins still have a chance to make the playoffs, and it makes me sick because this team should have been eliminated a long time ago, but yet they came back from the dead. Impressive game for Tyler Huntley. 2 total touchdowns and almost 300 yards. 1 passing and 1 rushing touchdown in this game. Nobody else was really worth mentioning as far as the rushing game goes, but Tyreek Hill with 100 receiving yards, and the only touchdown in this game on offense was, on the passing game, was through Jonnu Smith. Interception was by Tyrell Dodson. I think they had a couple turnovers with the fumbles as well. Yeah, this was just a great game all around for Miami's defense. Offense, they had some good moments, but not exactly the way people were expecting. Do I really even need to talk about the Browns right now? They are just in a whole hellhole right now. They are just completely dysfunctional, and they have a freaking moron as a GM. At least Jerry Jeudy is a Pro Bowler. Somehow the defense has been struggling despite it being the only reason why the Browns even have a pulse right now. Defense is literally the only reason. 2 sacks from Myles Garrett, 4 total, but oh boy, defense can only do so much for you. This is just a really embarrassing outing for the Browns, but at least they got a chance at the number 1 pick. If they lose and New England somehow pulls out a win, I believe the Browns are getting the number 1 pick. I haven't fact-checked that, but as of right now, New England has the number 1 pick right now. As for Miami, a Denver loss and a win next week from the Dolphins means it's playoff time in January for Miami, Florida. Yeah, literally, whoever gets this last playoff berth is playing the Bills. The Dolphins have the least likely chance to even beat the Bills because the Broncos and Bengals actually do well in cold weather. As proved by the wild card game last year and the game against the Packers, Dolphins can't do shit in the winter and in the cold. In the best game of the Sunday 1 o'clock to 4:25 slate, in my opinion, The Packers lose to the Vikings 27-25, setting up a matchup of the year in Week 18. 27-25 was the final in this game. Packers almost had a comeback, but it was just too little too late. Packers will pretty much get the 6th seed, I'm very sure, unless they lose and the Commanders win, and somehow Packers have to play the Eagles. I don't know. But Packers would rather play the Rams than the Eagles because, let me just tell you, when you have to face the 1 or 2 seeds, it's pretty much over for you if you are not fully prepared for them. Jordan Love had a solid game, 190 yards, a touchdown. Rushing game for the Packers had 2 touchdowns in this game. Only touchdown on the receiving end was through Malik Heath? That's interesting. The interception is not by Xavier McKinney. It was Carrington Valentine, and there was only 1 sack by Carl Brooks in this game. It must be nice knowing that you are going to the fucking playoffs. On the other hand, Sam Darnold, once again looking like an MVP candidate. Almost 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Rushing game, not really important. Surprisingly, no 100-yard receivers, but Justin Jefferson, 8 catches, 92 yards. Jordan Addison had a touchdown, so did Cam Akers and Jalen Naylor. 3 sacks for this defense, including 1.5 from a returning Blake Ashman. I don't remember the Falcons had him at first, but that's pretty cool that he's still looking like a pretty solid defender. It was a close game, but the Vikings did enough to win, and that's really all that matters in this entire world. Just ask the Chiefs. So for the NFC North title, Vikings and the Lions are both 14-2. What the actual hell? Literally, the 5 seed of the NFC is going to be a 14-win team? Yeah, whoever wins that NFC South division is cooked. Tampa Bay, you may have won the battle of the division, but you are getting bounced quicker than Tom Brady. Oh boy, yeah, I can't make that joke. Literally for obvious reasons. And now we got the Sunday Night Football matchup. Probably the best game of the day, in my opinion. Commanders beating the Falcons at overtime 30-24 in a very impressive game. Okay, I stand corrected. The second half was where Washington came all the way back. We were up 17-7 at half. Somehow. I only saw the first quarter and then I went to sleep. I saw the score of the first quarter, and then I went to sleep. But boy, did I miss a hell of an ending. My goodness. 2 attempts at field goals. I think one of them for Washington was good, and then we missed with Riley Patterson when he came up short. That would have won us the game and put us 1 step closer to winning the division and getting bounced in the first round by the Vikings. Well, whoever didn't win the NFC North division between the Vikings and Lions, rather. But, as always, we choked again. Freaking hell. Let me just say, Michael Penix has looked good on film in the past few games that he's played. He's played in 2 games, and he actually looks solid. Unfortunately, he did throw his first interception. That was his fault. But other than that, he actually did well enough to lead the Falcons to overtime, where they unfortunately lost because of a fucking coin. At least Bijan Robinson had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. Drake London had 100 yards receiving. I believe Darnell Mooney and Drake London both have 1,000 receiving yards this season. Oh yeah, and guess who caught the touchdown? Mr. number 4 overall pick of 2021, who I had high hopes for, who besides his rookie year completely sucked. Well, didn't get the ball. It was Kyle Pitts. This defense actually had a solid game. 5 sacks and an interception by Caden Ellis. You would think that the Falcons will win this game, right? Well, you'd be wrong. Because Jaden Daniels putting up 350 total yards with 3 passing touchdowns and a pick. Chris Rodriguez with a rushing touchdown. That's interesting. I think Terry McLaurin may have gotten hurt in this game, but the 2 main players for that receiving core were Olamide Zaccheaus, a former Falcon in his own right, getting a touchdown on us, and Zach Ertz, who got 2 touchdowns. That includes the game-winning touchdown in overtime. That pretty much ended our hopes of winning the division for the first time in almost a decade. Defense for the Washington didn't do as well as the Falcons defense did. They had 2 sacks, but they also did have an interception from Quan Martin. But shout out to Jaden Daniels, future Offensive Rookie of the Year. for getting the job done when he needed to clinch Washington a playoff berth. Commanders, please don't turn him into RG3. Promise me. The only way the Falcons can win the division is literally if Tampa Bay loses to New Orleans, which I know isn't fucking happening, and we win against Carolina. Yeah, Carolina game, that should be easy, but I don't know if I could depend on New Orleans to help us out. Yeah, we're cooked. And finally, we got the Lions playing the 49ers in the game of the week. Most definitely. Somehow this is a close game, and the Lions won 40-34. I bet the 49ers to win this game, and somehow, someway, they almost did. Defense has been missing for a while, so I'm pretty much just going to go over the offensive stats, honestly, for this game. I'm just kidding. Brock Purdy threw 2 picks. Jared Goff had a very impressive game. 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs breaking 1,000 yards with 117 rushing yards this game and a touchdown. James Williams also got a rushing touchdown. Oh yeah, Jama also had a receiving touchdown, along with Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Of course, we can't forget Kirby Joseph, who has been the interception leader for the Lions for a long time this season. Ends up getting 2 picks in this game on Purdy. Besides the 2 interceptions, Brock Purdy actually had a pretty solid game. He had 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing, and Josh Dobbs even had a rushing touchdown himself. Yeah, Josh Dobbs was in this game as a backup for San Francisco. Does that sound familiar? 200-yard receivers in this game. George Kittle, 8 catches, 112 yards, but Ricky Pearsall, holy cow, 8 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, he's better than Tony Pitts combined. Oh yeah, and there was also touchdowns by Kyle Juszczyk and Deebo Samuel, but really not if really anybody cares. Only thing positive about this defense was Nick Bosa getting 2 sacks. That's it. Time to laugh at a kicker. Chick Moody, what the hell happened? You missed 2 field goals in this game? Shame on you. You could have forced overtime. Man, 49ers may be out, but Detroit has a game of the year potential against the Vikings. We're going to see who's going to come out on top of the NFC North Division and see who is going to get that 1 seed. That is just about to wrap up this episode of Grizzly Talks Football. Once again, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you smash that like button, hit that red subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos. This is the Chris, and that's all from me. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.